Dear Cosmo babies, on this week's episode, we are talking about taking local hometown education. I'm your host, Annie MacArthur. I have my co-host, Aaron Gray, with me today, and we are just going to jump right on into this because this is going to be some info-heavy podcast session today.
So you were coming right off of attending some local education.
Absolutely. Yep.
And it was extension education, right? Which is not something that you really even dabble in unless we are in a hotel and it is 3 a.m. and we have to put extensions in my hair before a show very, very quickly. And it's always like helter skelter, right?
Yes.
Talk to us about it. Yeah.
Definitely. I think the reason that I'm actually really excited to talk about this is because I know that from my personal experience, distributor specific education. So your local distributors, like your Cosmo profs, your salon centrics, your, beauty crafts, all of those. It's going to be different in your area. There's going to be different local distributors. Find them because all of them offer education at either free, very inexpensive, or sometimes they even have certifications, which is incredible. But those can tend to be a little bit more expensive. And what I have found that I truly love about it, even if they are not subjects that I am really interested in or something that I want to do myself, is that there is so much that you can take away from these classes. And I feel like, again, personal experience, people really talk down about distributor education for a long time. You know, it was like, oh, the free class at XYZ distributor or whatever it was. And I feel like I ended up not wanting to take a lot of that education because it was like, oh, well, I'm not really going to learn anything, or it's just a sales pitch, or I need to focus on these like bigger name advanced classes.
Right. And what's their following? I mean, how many times do you hear that? Like, well, how many Instagram followers do they have?
Yeah.
Having a lot of Instagram followers does not make you an incredible educator.
Absolutely.
Right now.
Absolutely. And so I really want to talk about distributor education because I think it's actually awesome.
Well, you know what I really like about it from like a student or new professional perspective is one, obviously the price point and accessibility. It's very close. A lot of times, depending on your distributor, they'll have a student price. Yep. You know, I know that when you were in school, Annie, like I always tried to find the things, like, yes, it might be $100 class, but for students, they would do it for $25.
Yep.
All distributors are interested in teaching students. The other thing that I really love about distributor education when you are just starting out is that you can really expose yourself to a ton of brands. And even though they are going to be talking like PK or product knowledge, and like, hey, this is why you should only use our perm line. They do still have to show you how to use the perm. And they do still have to give you like the technical information and the scientific information behind the perm and why things are working. What is pea protein and how does it help? And, so there has to be some real education in there, right? Like it can't just be like, hey, come buy our junk. And so I think that it exposes a newer stylist to this kind of giant world of brands, especially if you've gone to a brand specific school, a corporate school, or any school's going to have the brands that they use, so whether you're going to a school that's using Wella and Sebastian and maybe they have another wet line, or you're going to an Aveda school or a Paul Mitchell school, expose yourself to those other brands, because once you are out there in the world, and you might not have the money to buy into Aveda, as an independent stylist as much as you want to. And so, okay, well now what are you using? Are you using Colorproof? Are you using ABBA? Like what are the brands that are going to work with your values? And this is a great way to find out.
Absolutely. And for a lesser price point.
Totally.
Which is
absolutely
awesome, especially when you're a student. Like that's my favorite thing is like these kind of classes are going to have either a zero entry fee or a much lesser price point. Again, like you said, for students, usually there's some sort of discount. But this is like, I take a lot of this information from the way that I used to think when I was a student, because I was someone that went back to school in my later 20s. And so I had a very different mindset around what my goals were and what I was looking to achieve than I did when I went to school for aesthetics when I was 19, So it was more of, I'm a 19-year-old. I'm just trying to I want to get my career started. I'm looking for a job. Right. I'm not really sure how to do that. As someone who was 27, when they graduated and were looking for something, there was a very different mindset around the things. And I think for me at that time, it was like, well, I need to focus on these bigger, more advanced brand name classes or these brand name people, and not take this like distributor education where it's not really going to do anything, or I'm not really going to learn anything. Now, how many years after the fact, we're what, a decade out of school now. And I feel like I'm able to look back at it so differently. And I think that's why I'm really excited to talk about it to people that are in school and early in their careers, no matter what age range you're in. But at that starting position, again, the things that I have learned about distributor specific education is that, one, become really friendly with your local distributors. Yeah. I think that is something that I literally probably have just started to take more value in, because again, it was a different time, way back when, and distributors weren't spoken about super kindly. And as a student, it's something that you listen to. It's something that when the people around you that you're surrounding yourself with in the industry are like, oh, don't take that kind of stuff. Like, you kind of, you take that a little bit to heart and it goes with you. And what I'm finding is that you want to be the most kind and the most friendly and informed with your local distributors, because they're going to do so much more hard work for you than anybody else in this industry. And especially for people behind the chair, for new professionals, it's like the big name person's class you're going to take isn't going to help you find that next job, but your local distributor definitely might.
Or somebody that you meet in that class. I also think, and God, we are friends and love all of our people with huge Instagram followings who are doing great things, right? But as someone and people who have kind of traveled that circuit and taken them to schools or done things with those people, it is there's not a way to really harness that relationship. Sometimes there is. Sometimes this person will magically become your mentor. But in a lot of situations, these classes become picture-taking opportunities.
Yes.
Beware of those. There is a ton of great education out there, but not all of it. Not all of it is great. And so you just want to make sure, if I have $1,000 to spend this year on education and I can get 40 classes, locally, or I can take 1 3-hour class, a couple hours away at a salon who's bringing in somebody that I like to follow on Instagram. What is my motivation, right? What's my why for those classes?
Yes.
Is my motivation just to go take a picture with this person on stage after? Okay, cool. I mean, and if that's your deal, awesome. But if you want lots of education and you want to really expose yourself to a lot of things, local's a great way to do it. We talk about online classes all the time.
Absolutely.
If you want to learn from those people, just take their online education. I mean, it's much cheaper than doing it in person. And then you get a little more personalized attention because a lot of them have like Facebook groups and things that they're working with.
Yeah. And none of these options are wrong. No, like taking education is never wrong.
Right.
And I definitely want to preface that. And what I want to definitely specifically point out with the distributor education specifically is that it is so much more than the education you're receiving. It is such a larger picture. And that's really what I want to talk about and kind of drive home is that these are things that I just never really understood back when I was a student, is the larger picture of what distributor education can provide. And so when I say like a distributor is going to work harder for you, like you want to be really friendly with these people because they're going to reach out to you when there's classes coming up. You may also get on some like
mailing list,
you know, to be the first to know when people are coming into town. Some distributors get incredible artists. Like it's not always the local PK person doing a class. Right. Sometimes it is the big name person from the big name brand coming into your area, and you want to be the first to know. And by getting involved and informed and kind of friendly with your local distributor, you're going to be the first to know about those things versus anyone else. You know, they're also going to like, these people are also like very well informed of your local area. So they're going to know if a salon is hiring. And if they know that you're a student who is actively looking for this advanced education, they may bring up your name in a salon in your area that you don't even know about. Like it's the networking that comes with it on top of just the education. Like, again, these are the people you want to be really friendly with. Like,
I think being clear about who you need to network with while you're at the class, right? Because when we talk about a distributor, what we are talking about is a company that carries multiple lines that are not related to one another necessarily, and they sell them directly to hairdressers and salon owners, right?
Yes.
So that's the distributor. Below that, they will have people who are sales reps. They might have like a director of education. Those are great people to know, to get information about the classes, to get information about new products. And also because a sales rep is going to be going into larger accounts on a weekly basis. So if you are wanting to work in a salon, you know, that is commission and has X number of, you know, stylists and carries a certain line, and you're at a Wella class, and the Wella rep will inevitably be there for that territory. Talk to them. I'm a student. Like, I'm very excited about the Wella line. I'd really like to be in a salon that carries this. I've been learning it at school. I feel really comfortable with it. It just makes sense to me. Whatever. Or if it's like whatever it is, but talk to that rep, because that person, they know every salon that carries Wella. And they talk to them, they go see them, they email with them. Like, they know when they're looking for assistance, they know when they're looking for front desk. If that's something that you're interested in while you're that is who you zero in on, that person. Introduce yourself, make a good impression, wow them with your drive and ambition, and that you care. Like, you know, compliment sandwich it. I love this product line because I'm looking for something like this, because I really appreciate your help and your expertise. Like, compliment, request, compliment, right? That's what Annie and I always call a compliment sandwich, and it will get you through this life. So find those people. And then also feel free to talk to the other people who are there. Oh, hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm in school. Are you a stylist in a salon, or do you own a salon? Like, have those casual conversations. That is very difficult for me because I don't love these like, hey, casual conversations. I work on that. That's definitely something that I really struggle with. But push yourself. I know that Annie pushes herself every time she goes to a class. Like, hey, okay, I'm going to say hello to two people that I don't know, and I'm going to introduce myself, and I'm going to have a quick conversation. And that can feel really, really uncomfortable, but it will. That's the networking. That's the networking at this stage in your life that you need to do, because you're leaving school and looking for a job.
Yes. And who are always the two people? If it's just two people I go talk to, who is it? The distributor and the educator. Oh, introduce yourself.
Yes. Thank you so much for allowing students to come, or thank you so much for having this opportunity. I really loved it. I saw a lot of value. That is what people want to hear, that they created value, right? Because I guarantee you there are 20 people who are in line to be like, wasn't worth the money. You know, like, people are so quick to be negative. We see Yelp reviews all the time. Hang on one second. People are so quick to be negative. We see Yelp reviews all the time. Everyone's, if anyone has a bad experience, they're right there to give that 1-star review, but you have to beg and plead your best friends to like give you a decent review.
Yeah.
And so do praise people and companies on the things that they're doing well.
The next thing that I would say is that a lot of times what you might hear about distributor education is that their sales pitch, or they're just trying to sell you something, or it's not really worth it. This is where I really want to kind of clear that up, because that was my mentality. That was why I didn't really want to take distributor related education when I was a student, and I didn't know any better, because I was just kind of listening to the people around me. One, change the people you're around if that's their attitude, because it's like, I feel like I missed out on so much that I could have been doing it by taking distributor related education. And as someone who now takes a lot of distributor related education, the things that I find are that, are they a sales pitch? Of course they are. That's what they're trying to do. It's their job.
The job
that is literally their job. But I am able to take any class related to any single thing, because I do educate myself beyond just hair and the hair industry. I take a lot of education outside of that. And what I find is that there is always something that I can learn out of every single thing that I take. And I just took a distributor class the other day. And what I was able to take, were they trying to sell something? Absolutely. It was the whole point of them being there. Yeah. But I was able to take the information, and I found so many aha moments and so many little facts that I was able to take away from that I am able to use on so many other levels. And just because it's something that I wasn't going to buy into or wasn't going to do or learn more about, doesn't mean that I didn't receive a ton of valuable information that I am able to use in my daily life, in my thought process, in when I talk to our people and clients that we take and people that we work with, that I'm able to like change my mindset and be like, oh, that is actually something that's, now I have multiple options of like, well, this is a way that could work, or this can work, or doing this. And all it does is expand your outlook on things, and it doesn't set you in this one train of thought of like, well, this is the only way to do something. Learn how to do it 100 different ways, because you might like something better. You might learn that there's a different way to do something and it's better. Or you may just take something personally and relate it back to yourself on a personal level. And you're like, oh my gosh, like I can relate this thing about hair back to the way that I am feeling emotionally. Because that happens a lot more often than you would ever realize.
Why does every class feel like a therapy session? I maybe like 40 that I'm like, oh my God, like I'm like ready to like burst into tears like in every class all the time. Now. It's all like so meaningful. I don't feel like we did that 10 years ago, but who knows? Who knows? So I would say you will definitely use that extension education on the road, my friend. So lock that away. But also, I do think it's really interesting, because just because something is not a service that you are offering right now or ready to offer, does not mean that it's not something that you might want to do later on, or something that after you take it, you're like, hell no, I'll never perm. Okay, cool. Like, fine. If that's, if you are closing yourself off to that in the industry, okay, but now right? Or maybe it's, the other thing is maybe it's learning what brands don't align with your values.
Yeah.
After taking a class like that has happened to me, and it happened to me. Oh, it was gut wrenching, because it happened to me with a product that I had used for a lot of years, something that I used to pay retail for. Like, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't even offered by a distributor. And then after taking like their PK class and then a couple of their cutting classes, with a salon that I was affiliated with at the time, I was like, I don't think I even want to use these products anymore, because they super did not align with my personal values and how, like, what made me feel good just as a human, you know, and how they were treating people and things. And I haven't used it since. And that is an okay learning opportunity as well, right? Like knowing what we don't want just as much as what we do.
Yeah. Part of the whole point, I feel, of even starting this podcast and being able to speak to anyone who is listening at all is the fact that, like, there were so many things that I wish I could go back and tell myself. And I feel like this is my opportunity to be like, it is okay. It is okay to go and spend the money to learn that you don't want to do something. It is not a waste of money. Because I can't tell you how many times I'd be like, man, I feel like I wasted my money. You know what? I didn't. And you got to change your mindset around that. And it truly is a mindset thing, which we won't go too far into that because I could go on and on about like this whole mindset shift and whatever. It works though. You know what? It works. It takes a while sometimes, but like it truly works if you have that mindset shift. But I definitely that type of person that was like, I do not feel like I got my money's worth, or I do not feel like I spent my money well, but I did. I did because I still was able to take something away from that. And I'm not saying that if you were someone that, for example, you were like, I never want to do Vivids or rainbow hair or anything like that. I'm not saying to go and spend $100 on a Vivids class or anything
take
like
a bunch
that.
of Vivids classes.
You know, that's not what we're getting at. But what I am getting at is if you were somebody who is new in your career and you haven't really figured out what you do or want to do, because you honestly, you don't know until you kind of dabble in it a little bit, at least, like open yourself up to these options. Like if it's a $25 class, take it, because you will get $25 worth of value, probably much more. Either way, whether it's you're finding out that it's not something you enjoy or want to do, or if it is something that you enjoy and want to further pursue, like you are going to learn something, and it is never a waste of money, because as long as you were able to take something away from it, you got your money's worth. And there is always something to take away. And it's not always like, oh, never doing that again. Like you will absolutely, there will be aha moments. Sometimes you have to read between the lines, you know? And I think that is something that took me a long time to figure out personally, is how to get that information, because I think that it was back in the early days when I was behind the chair and I was trying to learn and build my skill and knowledge and everything like that. It was more focused on, okay, how am I taking away the actuals, the things that I can physically do on my clients, and not reading between the lines for the more information, the deeper information, the things that could be personally, emotionally development beyond just the actual, this is how to do XYZ. But going further. And it's like, again, this is something I wish I could tell myself back then to have changed things, but I can't. So I'm telling everyone now, like, and hopefully you can, you know, if you are a student or a new professional listening to this, like, I do encourage you to look beyond the information that they're giving you, you know, those little details. Sometimes it's like the little pieces, the little aha moments that you're like, oh, well, I never even thought about that. Or maybe they're giving you some statistics. How can you take those statistics and use that to build yourself or talk to your clients or learn something new and a new approach to something? Like in this particular class, there was a statistic that came up that was, I believe they said that it was like 70% of women and female presenting people find that their hair actually relates directly to their happiness.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and it's like
that with gender studies as well.
You know, and it's like things like that. Like it was such a quick piece of information that was given that you may have just skipped over entirely if you weren't really listening to what they were saying. But like, I take that and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how does that affect me? How does my hair affect me on a daily basis? And how am I able to take that into what we do on Dear Cosmo babies and with the hair nerds and everything else? And how can I use that information to better my surroundings and the people around me, and it's those little pieces. And that's like find the value in the distributor education, because there is so much more than just, okay, well, so-and-so's coming in for PK. It is so much more than that. If you make it that, like, do it, like spend the $25 or whatever it is. Cause usually it's pretty inexpensive a lot of the times.
I will leave you with my hair school hack. Just because I spent a tremendous amount of time working in the hair schools. 99% of the time, there are a couple of exceptions to this, but 99% of the time, your school, if you take them the flyer for that class and you're like, this is an 11 to 2 class, can I get hours for this? They will at least typically give you 2 hours for a class. They will sometimes give you 4. Every school is like a little different in the way that they do it. Sometimes they'll do hour for hour. If it's a brand that the school carries, they will almost always do hour per hour. And it's a really easy way to, you were a little hungover after Halloween and didn't make it to school that Monday morning. It's a really easy way to get some of those hours back, or to add to your existing perfect attendance, which I'm sure everyone who listens to this podcast has.
Definitely.
And graduate early. And when you do the financial breakdown on it, and now you're paying, you're taking a class for $25 and it's 2 hours. So that's $12 an hour. Look at the breakdown of what you were paying hourly at school. And I can assure you it is much less. It is much less. And so it makes sense. It just makes sense to go ahead and get that done and be done with it. At some of the schools that I've been at, they charge the students after they go past, a certain number of hours, they charge them then hourly to come to school. So again, like these hour earning opportunities are a really great way to get that extra education and to also pad that attendance book a little bit.
The last thing that I would like to talk about with this type of education specifically is that if you are a student or someone who is maybe looking to transition salons and you are needing to put together a resume, please have a resume. Please put together a resume. Like, that is number one. And I highly recommend going back a couple podcasts, and we have podcasts specifically related to information like this. But what I want to say is that with these classes, they a lot of the times, again, are going to be sometimes free, sometimes very inexpensive, sometimes discounted for student rates. Sometimes they are very expensive. Like, I am just going to say that there are ones that are very expensive classes as well, but there are ones that are very inexpensive. One of the most incredible things that you could do for yourself as a student or someone brand new in this industry is to take these classes, and take all of them if you're interested. Take all of them if you can afford it. And then put these on your resume under advanced education, because it is advanced education. The way that it is advanced education is that this is not education you are receiving from your school. This is beyond that, means advanced. So this advanced education doesn't always mean that you're taking a advanced razor cutting class. Like, it is literally just meaning that I did stuff outside of what my school was providing me. So on your resume, put the instructor, the educator's name, put the brand name on there if it was related. You don't even have to put that it was a distributor class. You could just put, took a class from Aaron Gray of the Hair Nerds, like that. That's all you have to do. What that's going to do and what that's going to offer you is so much more on your resume that is going to make you stand apart to salon owners and to the people that are hiring within the whatever job in the industry you're looking to get. It's going to set you apart. It is going to show that you are someone that is actively searching for more education than what you were being handed. Because sometimes in salons, not every salon has the ability to educate you the way that you are hoping for. They don't always have the support or the systems in place to do so. A lot of the times you are going to find that salons need you to go out and get advanced education. So if you can show that you are someone already doing that, already searching for more, wanting more, and actively getting more for your career, It is amazing for you because you are going to grow as a person and learn something and be able to take something away. But it is also going to show them that they don't have to push you to do those things. They don't have to remind you during your little check-in sessions or anything like, hey, are you doing any advanced education? Like you're going to be able to come to them and show them, oh my gosh, I just took this class. And then you are going to become the person in the salon that motivates everyone around you because you're the person who is actively seeking more. And that it's just going to make it a better environment overall. And that is what salon owners truly want at the end of the day.
I would like to extend an invitation. If you are a student or you just graduated, and you need some help maybe with scripting for asking your student services coordinators or your directors of education about getting hours for classes, or you need a little help with how to place these things on your resume effectively in a way that will make sense to salon owners, DM us on Instagram and we will personally write it out for you and help you and give you the advice that you need. I've worked at a plethora of schools. Like we can make it happen, and we're happy to do so. So feel free to shoot us a DM. Slide into the DMs.
All right. So if you are looking to reach out to us on Instagram, please check out our description. The links are in the bio directly. Just hit us up there. You can find us at The Hair Nerds on Instagram, as well as at @scissorandmoth.social. Both of those will come directly to us, and we are more than happy to help you out. Also, if you have any questions or any topics for future podcast episodes or anything that you are really wanting to know, slide on into the DMs. It is an open invitation. We are more than happy to talk to any Cosmo babies or new professionals out there. I would
recommend doing it on Scissor and Moth, though, only because we get so many DMs on the Hair Nerds. Like I definitely, and then some of them, like if you aren't following that person back, like they go to the spam. So I would say
totally.
if you have an urgent question or need support quickly, Scissor and Moth is the place because it just is. It's way easier to manage that inbox, and that is really where a lot of our like students and new professionals live.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Erin. I am so glad that we talked about this because I think that distributor education is so important. And I think that everyone should be attending their local distributor education. And I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Do not be an Annie in the beginning of your career. Like, take my advice now and please attend your local distributor education. It is far beyond what you think it is. And I am so grateful for all of our listeners. We will catch y'all next week and we'll see you next time. Bye.